if we didn't see in the polls prior to 2022 the anger of, the people who gave the Dems that election, and I realize the Republicans did win the House, but not by the margins they expected, then what's our assurance that we're not seeing it, that we're missing it again?
Well, what I would say is the early vote data in 2024 are much different than the early vote data in 2022. The registration data since 2022 all favors Republicans. You take a look. What's happened in states with partisan registration since November of 2022 to date? Virtually every state has seen Democrats decline and Republicans go up. The net share ratio is that it's better by 2 to 2.5 points nationwide among Republicans. We did not see the early vote jump in favor of Republicans 2 years ago. We did not see the sort of dramatic changes in partisan identification that we saw. It was still an electorate that was willing to that seemed to be willing to give Biden 2 years more to turn things around. I think what we've got now is they've got 2 more years. Things haven't turned around enough or haven't turned around at all for many of them. And then you've got a factor that wasn't the case. 2 years ago, you could take a pass. You could say, okay, I'm not happy with Biden, but he's not on the ballot right now. The fact is, he is on the ballot right now. It's, you can't get away from the fact that Kamala Harris is his vice president and is in the tank for every policy decision they made. And then she says, what's different decision how different will her administration be? And she couldn't think of a single thing where she differed with Joe Biden. People know that. And the question is, do you want 4 more years of this? And I think those are the 2 things that are different than we had in 2022. It's still a close election. I could be wrong. Harris could come out and have a victory. But I think the weight of the evidence suggests that Donald Trump, I'd rather be in Donald Trump's shoes than Kamala Harris's shoes as we're speaking.
I heard you on my buddies over at Real Clear Politics at their podcast talking about the first signs of the evening that you're going to be looking at. And I found these very interesting. Can you talk to me about Virginia 3 and Virginia 7?
Yeah. Well, Virginia 3 is the African-American district that I was talking about. The Republicans are not going to win that seat, but the turnout is going to be really indicative. Is that if what you're talking about is a low turnout in a Virginia congressional seat that's dominated by African-Americans, turnout rates don't vary all that much in states. It's not like people don't show up in a presidential year in non-swing states and do in swing states. So if you've got a low turnout in Virginia 3, that's an indication that you're going to have a low turnout in Philadelphia, a low turnout in Detroit, a low turnout in Milwaukee, a low turnout in Clayton County and the black suburbs of Atlanta. It's an indication early that things are not going right. And the converse is true. If you get a high turnout, then that means is that, they didn't show up in early voting, but they showed up on election day, and that's a good sign for Harris. Virginia 7 is a contested multiracial district between the exurbs of Northern Virginia and the city of Fredericksburg. Biden won it by a little under 7 points, and it's a very heavily contested congressional district. This is where Eugene Vindman, the brother of the Vindman who was so important in the first impeachment trial, is running. And if there's a movement among blacks and Hispanics towards Republicans, we will see it here first. And if we're talking about 830, and instead of winning this district by 7 points, Harris is winning it by 1 or 2, or maybe even losing it. That is a huge warning sign that the racial realignment is real and that Trump will do well. The converse is true, is that if Harris is winning it by 7 points, just the same as Biden, that says, oh my gosh, despite all the suggestions, it looks like the Biden coalition is being reassembled. So those 2 districts in Virginia, and Virginia closes at 7 o'clock and it votes, it counts very quickly. So by 8:30 or 9, we should have a very good sense from almost complete returns here of indicative areas that have demographics that are important in all of the swing states. And it's one of the reasons I'll be looking closely at both seats.
Now, how do we avoid what happened to us, well, all of us in 2016? I told the audience and Steve Bannon about it yesterday, but I went out there as an anchor at 5 p.m. inside the Fox News, sort of brain trust room and received the briefing from Arnon Mishkin and our decision desk. This is before Bret Baier and I were going to go on the air and give the audience a wink and a nod update. You're not yet allowed to tell them what you've seen, but you can kind of drive the discussion in a way that telegraphs what you know. And they said, and I quote, "It's going to be a very good night for Hillary Clinton." This is in 2016, the night she lost. The decision desk was being honest in what they get paid to be right. And this is the way they led us all. And Steve Bannon was telling me he was hearing the same. And I know the Trump family was being told the same. And yet we all know that it was wrong. So what's to prevent that kind of thing from happening a few hours from now again?
There's nothing to prevent it from happening. I wish I could say otherwise. I was not surprised in 2016. I went out on a limb and said I thought it was that Trump had a good chance of winning. And my analysis is online and everyone can go read it. And so I think what people were missing in 2016 is how people who didn't like either candidate were going to vote. There were 18% of people who said they did not like either candidate. They had been stable in the one poll that measured that beforehand was the GW Battleground poll. And I had looked at those crosstabs, and what you found was that even as late as they took a poll right after the Access Hollywood tape, and 57% of these people said they were undecided. In other words, the Access Hollywood tape came out, and these people did not break to Hillary Clinton. What we know is that they broke late for Trump. But you could have analyzed that, and that's what I did in my essay. And I think there's an over-reliance on exit polls and an over-reliance on pure polling data as opposed to campaign experience and voting patterns. So if you get an exit poll and they say it looks like Harris is ahead by 3 points, don't call it, but she's likelier to win than not. This just reminds me of 2004 when the exit polls made it look like John Kerry was going to win. There was a couple point error in favor of that. And it turned into a George W. Bush victory because the exit poll was off within its margin of error by enough to miss the George W. Bush victory. And so have humility when you have the 5 o'clock briefing, whoever has the 5 o'clock briefing. Step back, have humility about what you're seeing, and don't take it as gospel faith.
The holiday season is here. I kind of feel like we don't get to start it until the election's over. Is it just me? Like, I'm not going to start thinking about Christmas until the election is over. And Thanksgiving. There's Thanksgiving. Yeah, there's that too. Anyway, if your business relies on mailing or shipping, Stamps.com is a must-have. With Stamps.com, you can print postage online. That's so convenient. It saves you valuable time to focus on what matters most, running your business smoothly. Stamps.com is more than just a shipping solution for small businesses. It is a reliable partner for organizations of all sizes, managing all your mailing and shipping needs from one platform. Think of Stamps.com as your 24/7 post office. Avoid the holiday traffic jams by handling all your shipping from your computer or your phone anytime, anywhere. And they offer discounts that you're not going to find anywhere else. Up to 89% off USPS and UPS rates. Stock up on everything you need from labels to shipping supplies right from their supply store. More holiday, less hustle. Free up more time with Stamps.com. Sign up now. Stamps.com. Enter the code MK to get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Stamps.com. Code MK. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.